What's up, guys? We got Shane here again from the Twin Sons podcast, and today we got new spoilers. So we are all pretty excited. We got Victor coming out, as well as the previous 2 days. So what I plan to do here is every time the champion reveals, I'll kind of catch up on all the spoilers that were reviewed and break them down right here on the YouTube channel. As always, we'll be talking about them on the podcast plenty as well, including with the guy who designed them as well, Sean Main, the designer of Call of the Mountain and Set 3 overall. He'll be coming on the show for the third time with us the following week, probably on the 16th or 15th. So expect that episode to drop right here on YouTube as well as any other podcast platforms that you check us out on. And as always, just throw a like down there, subscribe, comment. Let's beat that algorithm boss together. But for today, we have a lot to talk about. So let's jump right in. So this is our Discord. If you guys aren't in the Discord, the link's in the description of this video. So make sure to check it out. But in here, I'll just have a whole channel dedicated to any spoiler images. So here we have a new keyword. We have the keyword augment. When you play a card, when you play a created card, grant me +1/+0. So I'll kind of go over some things for new players as well as we go through if I catch anything that's interesting or that's worth noting. And we'll just kind of go through all the cards. So augment is when you play a created card, you'll grant them +1/+0. Remember, grant is give permanently, so grant is permanent stat buff, but if you use the word give, that is only a temporary stat buff, so give will last only for the round. So here we have the Mechanized Mimik. She is a 5-drop 3/4 with augment. So weak stats, obviously, but augment, you can put weak stats on an augmented unit because they will grow as you play more and more units. Or more and more created cards. And she has a very interesting ability. When she attacks, she is granted all the keywords on all allies. So if you have Overwhelm, Elusive, Spell Shield, anything on any of your allies, she will be granted, which will be permanently added onto her when she attacks. So if she can survive to attack, really strong ability. Not sure about the competitive viability as in terms of, we got to see what other good keywords we get. She's in Piltover and Zaun, so it's always hard to judge these cards because they have a lot of weird, interesting cards. But this one seems pretty good. It has a lot of nut out potential. You can really get crazy keywords on here. I mean, the first that comes to mind is just, if you want another elusive attacker and you're using elusive units, you might as well throw her in, right? She'll get elusive from Ezreal or Teemo or any of your other units. So it's just pretty good. Pretty good. It has a lot of potential here. Moving down, we got these cards came out yesterday, and then today we had Victor, so we'll go through these cards real quick. We have a 1-drop, 1/1 armed gearhead. He is just a 1/1 with quick attack and augment, so he can be a 1-drop who can potentially get more attack and have quick attack. He'll get removed pretty easily, but he'll have, decent attack capabilities. You attack with a 2 or 3 or 4 attack as the turns go on. You're not going to want to be able to block that with quick attack, so okay, not terrible. 1 health is, not great, but it's a 1-drop. Can't expect much. I doubt we see a ton of play there with that card. I'm going to skip this one for a second. We have the Nian Nyandroid, who's probably the best out of the 3 units we got here, in my opinion. This thing is a cat. It's a 3-drop, 1/3 with elusive and augment. So 3 health is a lot of health on an elusive unit. They typically don't have a lot of health. So 3 is high. On top of that, 1 attack is obviously low, but you have the elusive and you have the augment ability. So if you are playing created cards, this is going to skyrocket. And augment can work with anything. The cool thing about this keyword is it brings back other giant archetypes like shrooms, because you create a lot of puff caps in your hand. Brings back anything else that you're getting created, including all of the chaos that you have from Piltover and Zaun in general. There's a decent amount of Bilgewater stuff that has created cards, and on top of that, Gems is a huge one, and Invoke from Targon, both those. But Gems on this unit, essentially you would create a gem, you'd play it, that would give it +2 attack permanently, because Gems grant and Augments grant. So right then, just with 1 gem, you have a 3/3 with Elusive for 3. Really good value. We have a 2-drop here. He's a Ballistic Bot. He has Augment as well. He's a 1/3, so not great stats, but 1/3 is not terrible for a 2-drop that's going to augment something. So he'll eventually get buffed up. And even only once, a 2/3 for 2 is pretty good. At the round start, he makes an Ignition, which is this following card here. Ignition's a 1-cost slow spell. Deal 1 to the enemy nexus. So it's like a warning shot, but it's slow and it costs 1. Super good trigger for plunder decks. Super good obviously for augment, super good for setting up nightfall because it's 1 cost. It's a little slow. Obviously, is in the slow speed, so you are going to have to take your time with this. But yeah, that being said, it's super valuable. I mean, there's a lot of uses Ignition could be used for, and a lot of them interest me. On top of that, the unit itself is pretty thick as well. To 3 health as it's going to grow attack is good. I like both these two units a lot better than the first one because they already have a decent amount of health for their drop, and they're just going to rise in attack as you play more created cards. So it's super interesting. The reason I skipped this 2-drop is because essentially it is a 2-cost burst spell that creates one of these 3 units in your hand. Nah, for 2 cost, you're not really going to want to create an armed gearhead unless you really just need to play a created card. Now, again, these will be created at that point, so they will affect your other augmented units. But it's a way, and again, these are all, if they have a symbol here, guys, that is a good point to note. If they have a rarity at the bottom, it can be put in your deck. So if you're a new player looking at these spoilers and you're confused what's going on with Ignition as a card, this will not go into your deck. It has no symbol at the bottom. It's just created by Ballistic Bot. But these other ones have a symbol. So you can, both put Nyandroid in your deck and then run 3 of these to potentially have 6 Nyandroids capable of being played, which is pretty absurd if that's what you want to build around, or if you want to build around Ballistic Bot and just at the beginning of your turn get 4 to 5 different ignitions. It's pretty insane. Pretty insane. Over here we have Aftershock. It's a 4-cost spell. It deals 3 to anything or destroy a landmark. So we see they had let us know that every region is going to get a landmark and a landmark removal based spell, and this is a pretty good one. It's a pretty dang good one. I mean, there's some pretty bad ones out there already, and this one's pretty solid because it can deal 3 to the Nexus too. It is slow, so obviously it's not. I think Scorched Earth might be better still overall, just because it's a 3-cost fast speed and can kill any damaged unit. But for 4 on slow, dealing 3 to a Nexus, or even just killing an important champion or unit, and then having the flexibility of being able to destroy a landmark if you need to. Definitely going to see one or two of these slotted in a lot of these P and Z decks because they just, it's a flexible card. And then finally on this page, we actually get a second landmark in Piltover and Zaun. So this is the first region with a second landmark. It's the Hex Core Foundry. It is landmark 3-cost. A round start, all players draw 1. Pretty nuts. So it's a lot of ways to accelerate. Obviously, you can put this with Twisted Fate, so you can try to get your Twisted Fate level up. You can include this in mill decks if you're trying to mill your opponent by making them draw cards. You can include this in decks with things that are enhanced when you go draw cards, like Zephi Mechanist, because remember, she draws a card, you create a fleeting copy as well. And that goes with the augmented standard there, because Zephi will create a fleeted copy, which will essentially be another copy of the card, but it will count as a created card, which is pretty nuts. This card's pretty insane. For 3 costs, some smart players out there are going to make this card very, very valuable. But obviously, there's a huge risk factor because your opponent's drawing additional cards as well, and you had to pay 3 mana. And realistically, as soon as you get an effect from this, they're also getting it. So as soon as the round starts next time, you're both getting a card, but you had to put the mana in. So you need to really capitalize on the benefit more than your opponent can. And there are ways to build that. So it's interesting to me. Out of all these so far, Nyandroid is the number 1 for me, and I actually like the Mimic from before as well. But Ballistic Bot is super intriguing because it just opens up a lot of possibilities. So just as we're talking, you're talking about, Plunder effects, which is from Bilgewater and Freljord. You're talking about elusive decks. You're talking about gems. There's so many possibilities with this keyword here. It's a deck builder's dream. And then to continue that dream, we have Viktor here. And Viktor's a really cool champion, man. I really, really enjoy Viktor. He is a 4-drop 2/4. He has Augment, obviously, because that's the keyword here. And at the round start, he creates a Hex Core upgrade in hand. He levels up when you've played 8 created cards. Now, there's an important distinction here. It's just when you've played 8+ created cards. He doesn't have to be on board and see those. It would say when I've seen you play. So he can level up while he's in your deck. So if you're playing all these created cards and then you get to play him on turn 5, 6, if you already played 8, he will just come out leveled, which is a very important thing and very strong. When he does flip, nothing changes too much. It's not the most drastic flip. He goes up 3/5, which is fine. He still has create a Hex Core upgrade in hand at round start. And now your created cards just cost 1 less, which is decent. He's only a 4-cost, 3/5's good stats. That's great. That's great stats for a base level 4-drop, but he doesn't go up like you see Leona go up to a 4/6. So he's not that thick, obviously, but he is going to get additional attack with Augment. So he's going to have more attack than that. And then you can't really evaluate him unless you look at the Hex Core upgrade, which is right here, the 1-cost slow spell. It grants him a random keyword. So again, grant is going to permanently give him I keep using the word give. That's the wrong word to use there, but it's going to permanently grant him an ability. And that keyword can be anything, right? It can be elusive, overwhelm, anything like that. Now, most of the cards that work like this, including the Poro bot, who's the robot from Piltover and Zaun, he gets random keywords when he's played or in his hand before you play him. But the important thing there is that normally doesn't work for negative keywords. So you won't be able to get like ephemeral or immobile, like where you can't attack. So yeah, he shouldn't be able to get ephemeral, which would be pretty bad if he did. So I don't think he should be able to get a negative keyword, which is good. So essentially, he's going to be getting keywords. The hex core will be free once he's leveled because they cost one less, which is really good. Again, it's just a slow spell, so it's kind of hard to use, but it's still solid. I mean, it's very interesting. It's a little bit RNG factor because you could get quick attack, you could get things that don't matter as much, but man, you can get spell shield, overwhelm, elusive, really important things. Super interesting card. When I mentioned before, when you're looking at the rarities at the bottom, now there is an exception here. This right here is Viktor's Death Ray. When they put Viktor's with the apostrophe, that just is to show that it's his champion spell. And when he's the champion, it won't have a rarity on the card. But any champion spell will have a rarity and will be main deckable. So Death Ray Mark 1 is a card you can put straight into your deck, even though this image is not showing that as a rarity. It's because they're just indicating that this is his champion spell, which is, again, when you have more than one champion. When you have Viktor in play and in your hand, the other one will turn into the spell. This card I'm a little iffy on. It costs 1. You deal 1 to a unit, so it can't target the Nexus. And then you create a Mark 2 and a Mark 3 in the top... you create a Mark 2 in the top 3 cards of your deck. And then when you play the Mark 2, which is a 2 cost, deal 2 to a unit, you create a Mark 3. And then the 3 drop 1 is just a 3 cost, deal 3 to a unit. Again, this can't deal Nexus damage. And it kind of it costs 1, 2, and 3. Fast speed's good, so you have a lot of ways to blast things. But it kind of clogs up the top of your deck a bit, which is a little unfortunate because you are going to clog up, and if you're not drawing well, you could just be drawing into these, and if your opponent's not playing units, like into a control matchup, it's not super strong. So I don't know if this is like 100% a needed card in Viktor's archetype. We don't know exactly what else we're getting, but we've seen most of the Viktor cards here. And I think I could see it as a 1 or 2 of, but I think it's very meta dependent. If you're seeing a lot of aggro or mid-range things, I think you want this because it's going to help you blast those out. But if you don't see a lot of that, this might not be your best option because it really doesn't do much in the control. Again, it can't shoot the Nexus, so you're forced to shoot things. But again, if Viktor is leveled up, they will be very cheap, right? It'll be a 1 cost 2 damage and a 2 cost 3 damage at fast speed. So solid. If you're using Ezreal and Viktor, maybe there's some synergy there. That's what I'm saying. There's so much synergy with Viktor. He's just a deck building like dream come true because he's got so much synergy around. This last card is super spicy as well. This Iterative Improvement. It's a 2 cost burst speed. You pick a follower and you create a copy of it in hand with +1/+1. So you can pick any follower, your opponent's or yours. You get a copy of it, so that counts toward the augmented bonus and everything. That new card will be created, and it has +1/+1. And if it had a summon effect, you can now use that, and only for 2 mana. So even just slotting this, shout out to Josh, our co-host, he just said, oh, what about that in Fearsomes, right? So you put this in your slot in the Fearsome deck instead of using They Who Endured like I was, or instead of using Pale Cascade, you put these in. You pick the Mist Caller, you get a copy of the Mist Caller to your hand. He's now a 5/4 instead of a 4/3, and you can play him, and he has a summon effect that summons another Mist Wraith. So this you obviously can abuse with summon effects. You can use this on any of the Allegiance units if you're using the Allegiance unit from Piltover and Zaun to get an additional created 0-cost card. Which is pretty insane. That's probably one of the first things I'm going to build on day 1. But yeah, this card has a ton of functionality. I'm really excited about Iterative Improvement. I think it can be used in a lot of different decks. So my first deck I want to build probably is something with gems with Viktor because it just seems super fun. We got to see where Zoe goes. But day 1 as well, I want to make an elusive heavy deck with Viktor and Ezreal using Iterative Improvement with the Allegiance Piltover and Zaun unit and go from there. Before we close this video out, quick shout out. I didn't shout this out. On the second image here, this is from Cosmic Place. He's on Twitter. So if you are, he's on Twitter and Twitch. So here's his Twitch link right here at the top of this picture. But check him out as well. He's always on top of it, taking their videos and their images and putting them all in there. So I'll be using his images for the rest of these videos as well. So shout out to Cosmic. And to close out, yeah, that's kind of where I want to go with that video, or where I want to go with Viktor in general. I think he opens up so many archetypes for deck building. I'm super excited to play various different decks with him. Kind of a free-flowing video here, just talking about my initial reactions, and obviously I'll digest this a lot. So I'll be doing this for the 3 champions that come out, so we'll have 2 more videos just like this. I'll also be writing an article for one of those champions as well, which I'll link. Be sure to link that into the description of that video when it comes up. But guys, as always, you can join that Discord there for tons of spoiler conversation as we go. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us right here on YouTube. Subscribe, like the channel. Appreciate all the support. We're doing a ton of giveaways as we lead up to Christmas. I ordered 5 custom mouse pads, which are on our Twitter. They look really sick. They got a Leona and Diana combination with our logo behind it. Just looks really sweet. And then one with the Raven and our logo too. It looks awesome. So check that out. We'll be giving away different things there through both YouTube, Discord, Twitch, Twitter, all that type of stuff. Constantly doing giveaways. So check it out. And, can't wait to start deck building. And those decks will for sure be on this channel as well. Until next time.